Hi everyone, this is PaRiNormal episode, I believe 7. There was like a couple episodes here and there that weren't really paranormal related, so I don't really count them. So let me make sure this is muted. And it wasn't, of course. So anyway, I invited a few people, but it's like super late notice as for when I sent the link out, so they might eventually pop in. If not, I'll try to talk as much myself as possible. I'm not super well versed in this topic because mainly the topics that I'm most interested in or have been most interested in are ghosts and alien related. But even then, this topic still interests me, but it does scare me, not gonna lie. As you know, that I'm not religious. I don't want to get into religion, which is kind of hard with this topic because it's really heavily based usually in religion, but I'm not going to try to get into that topic because I feel like it's already been discussed enough in previous videos. So we'll just put that out there that I am not religious. I have been in the past. I was Lutheran for the most, or actually I would consider myself Christian for the most part in my past, but as of, I don't know, last several years, I don't really consider myself religious at all. I guess I'm more spiritual than anything else. So getting that out of the way, this video, if you haven't, read the thing, the title or whatever, it's about demons and demonic possession. Now, I don't even know that I necessarily believe in demons, at least not in the way that most people can consider them, but I guess that would be more of a difference of opinion on wording than what they actually might represent. I don't know how my cat is acting up. I tried to get her under control before the video started, but it hasn't been working. Yeah, Sean is fine. If anybody is, inconsiderate or whatever to the point where I have an issue, I boot them. So you guys don't have to worry about that. I don't have problems booting people off my show, my chat, whatever. Anyway, so demonic possession isn't really something that is hidden as much as other things. I mean, it's pretty well known, I would say. There's been several movies that have been supposedly created from true stories. How close they are to the actual story is, to be determined or up to your discretion. But there have been several movies based on supposedly true events. So anyway, I personally haven't had any experiences. My cat is driving me nuts. I think I'm going to have to take care of her before this goes any further because she's pissing me off. So I apologize. I'm going to give her some food, like good food, like wet food, in the case or the hope that she'll just shut the fuck up. This has been going on for probably a half an hour. I don't know what her deal is. But anyway, I haven't had any personal interactions, knock on wood, with anything that I could consider anything demonic. Luckily, it's not something that I have obviously want, which I don't think most people want that in their life. Some seek it out, whatever floats their boat, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, so I guess the closest thing that could have even been considered anything like that would have been the shadow person I saw at my aunt's house. But as I said before, I think I've explained that situation in a previous video somewhere, that I didn't get a negative energy or impression from this being. It was just like there. It was like a neutral, like a watcher kind of vibe I got. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't have any personal experience with any of this. It's been what I've seen, in videos. I try not to take anything I see on TV or movies too seriously because they're usually all exaggerated to some extent. But, I do a lot of research online, or at least I was. I took a kind of a hiatus from that for a while because, it was kind of freaking me out. Because when I get interested in something, I kind of like have an obsessive personality to some extent, and I'll just do it like nonstop. And it was causing issues. So yeah, I took a break, but it's still something that I've, been interested in the past. So I did write down a couple of like notes or whatever. And these are just like, I guess, the most famous or popularized exorcisms that were supposedly real. I say supposedly because honestly, there's really no way for 100% to know that these events took place as they were stated unless you were there. So that's why I say supposedly. I don't really have an opinion either way of whether or not these things happened, but this is what they said. So the first one I had actually never even heard of, so I think it was odd that it was ranked like the #1 most famous possession or whatever, but maybe it's just what I happened to come across, or maybe it's a timing thing because this did take place quite a while ago. It was probably the oldest in the list of, because I only looked at like the top 3 or whatever because I was honestly running out of time. But anyway, of course, this isn't going to stay up. So anyway, her name was Clara Germana Cele. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Cele. It was in 1906 in South Africa. She was a Christian student, and for whatever reason, at the age of 16, she decided to make a pact with the devil. It didn't really specify as to why, like if there was a reason, like she wanted something in return, what that something was. It just said that she made a pact with the devil. And then just literally within days, she was starting to have these strange impulses where she was having adverse reaction to like crucifix, and was speaking and understanding languages that she had no previous experience or knowledge of. She became clairvoyant, especially to the people around her, where she would know things about their past and things like that, where she shouldn't have known any of it. She also started making animal sounds. At one point, she levitated like 5 feet in the air, and eventually 2 priests were brought to exorcise her. And during one of the rites, as they call it, she actually tried to strangle one of the priests with the stole, which is like the little sash that they wear around their neck, I think. And over 170 people witnessed her levitating as the priests were trying to go through, their scriptures. So in 2 days, they were able to drive the spirits out, and then that's kind of just like where it ended. So I guess in her circumstance, it kind of had a better resolution than other people that have experienced these types of things. But, not in all circumstances have possessions been able to be exorcised. Now, that could mean a number of things. Me personally, I don't know that I believe in possession. That's just my personal thing, at least not in the way that it's portrayed. I do think a lot of the instances, and I would say most of the instances, are actually mental disorders that just either are strange and don't follow the regular pattern, or mental illnesses that haven't been diagnosed yet, like they haven't been discovered yet, I guess. That's just my personal thing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm open-minded, and it's not that I haven't seen these things, and that's why I don't believe. It's just based on what I've read and the videos that I've seen, I'm just not really convinced, because there's too many people that like to exaggerate things. And I do think in the more severe instances where certain things happen, that they are more likely to be something paranormal, supernatural, whatever you like to call it. But I think in most, like the smaller cases or whatever you want to call them, because I mean, it's a lot more common than you would think. There's a lot of cases out there that just aren't, publicized, I guess, for, the obvious reasons. They don't want ridicule and things like that. But I think a lot of the smaller ones are probably just, they're mentally unstable. So the second one that I looked up, and these last two that I wrote down, I have heard of, and probably most of you have heard of as well. The second one is Annalise Michael, I think it is. It's the Emily Rose, like the exorcism of Emily Rose, that person. The movie was supposed to be supposedly based off of her story. I don't know how loosely it follows her story. I don't know. But if you've ever watched the movie, it is definitely troubling. I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems like demons and aliens are the things that creep me out the most in regards to like paranormal stuff. I don't really know why. And there's speculation that those two things are related to some extent, which I can get in towards the end. And of course, my cat is done eating and now she's crying again. Anyway, there's, like I said, been speculation that those two things are related. That's not the reason that I personally find them troubling. It's just, I don't know. I really can't explain it. But anyway, Annalise had a history of both epilepsy and mental illness before she started experiencing anything paranormal or any possession-related symptoms, or however you want to term it. In 1973, I think when she was also 16, which I thought was interesting that both these people were 16-year-old girls, she became suicidal. She spurned religious artifacts, same as the other person. She was drinking her own urine and started hearing voices. And as after all these things started happening, medicine wasn't helping, and she begged her parents to have a priest come exorcise her. Oh. Why are you doing this to me? All right, we'll see if how. Okay. Because she believed that she was possessed by demons, so that's why she wanted to get exorcism. Her request was rejected. I think they went to like the Catholic Church, and if I do recall correctly, with the Catholic Church, you actually have to be approved by certain higher up people to get a exorcism, because it's like, I guess, taken very seriously. At least that's the way it was portrayed in the movie and the things that I've seen. I'm not Catholic. I've never been Catholic. Lutheran's pretty close to Catholic, but not quite, so I couldn't tell you. But even though she was rejected by like her formal request, two local priests decided that they were going to try to help her out, which was portrayed in the movie. During this time, the parents stopped treating her medical conditions. They stopped treating her for epilepsy and her mental disorders, because I guess they felt at that point it wasn't really helping anyway, and I guess they were kind of convinced that it was the fact that she was possessed and not a medical issue. So she had, within like a year, 70 exorcism. Well, it says she was dead within a year, I guess, of when the symptoms started happening. And over the course of 10 months had over 70 exorcisms performed on her. She refused to eat. And then, that with the whole, not treating her medically, it just, killed her. Like, she basically starved to death. But yeah, like those two people had a lot of the same characteristics, which are pretty common along, you know, being possessed, which I'll go over at the end of the thing. Stupid. The last one I wrote down is his, I guess it's a pseudonym, it's not his real name. They called him Roland Doe, and this is the person that was portrayed in the movie The Exorcist. They suspect that his actually started because he was dabbling with the Ouija board. His aunt had, I guess, sparked an interest in the Ouija board with him before she had passed, and then when she passed, he had tried using the Ouija board, whatever, to contact her, and after that, it seemed, you know, like that's when everything started, at least, you know, supernaturally, paranormally, however you want to put it. The possession started by hearing strange sounds, like dripping water. After a while, religious artifacts started to fly off walls. He would hear footsteps with like no logical explanation as to, you know, there was no person attached to them. They were just random. They couldn't be pinpointed. He also heard scratching noises. Eventually, he started having scratches found on his body, including words which appeared to be carved into his skin with like some kind of claw. He also spoke in tongues, levitated, and had body contortions. An exorcism was performed over 30 times and then finally succeeded. I guess this happened like the last time he had the exorcism or whatever. It was performed in a hospital because it mentioned that everybody in the hospital heard him making these strange noises, like yelling. And after everything had ended, when the spirit supposedly came out, there was a strange sulfuric smell in the air that like it lingered, I guess. So yeah, I don't really know what to think about all that. A lot of them have the same, like I said, symptoms, or however you want to term it. You know, typically possession, or somebody that is possessed, will, at least the ones that are more, I guess, compelling or more strange, like to where they really have something going on other than just something medical, are the ones that levitate. Obviously, levitation's not really normal. I've never seen anybody do it. It's not something that can really easily be explained if it's indeed happening, especially if the one person was 5 feet in the air. How do you explain that? It's very odd, to say the least. The other one is speaking and understanding languages that they had no prior experience with. There's really no way to explain that either. Like maybe one language, okay, maybe that person was studying and you didn't know about it, but when they're, you know, understanding languages, multiple languages, and languages that are very difficult to understand, or very old languages, like I believe Annalise was speaking Latin, or something older than Latin, or some kind of form of Latin that was really old. I don't remember. At least it's the way it was portrayed in the movie. I don't know if that was true or not. My cat is getting really bitchy. But I don't know how you can explain that, you know, logically. It just doesn't make sense. And then, you know, the scratches on the body, depending on where they are, you know, a lot of times they say they're self-inflicted, but depending on where they are, and because I mean, you can tell just by the direction that they are and all that, whether or not the person could have done it themselves. That is obviously not normal. And then, you know, things flying off walls and stuff like that, which, I don't know. It's one of those things, is like, what makes that person susceptible to these things? And it ironically it seems to be common with religious people, which you'd think would be the opposite, because you would think they'd be harder to take over, since they're, you know, religious and they have a faith in God and all this other stuff. So you think it would be more it would be much easier to just take a hold of somebody who's already evil and believes in the stuff to begin with. So I don't know. It's just, I find it odd. I think that's one of the main things I find odd about the whole situation, is that it always seems to be like these super religious people. So it's like, is it something in their head that they are actually creating? Because I do believe that a lot of paranormal events can be produced by the person. When I look back, even on things that happened to me, I wonder if some of these things, now the apparition type things, I don't really think are produced necessarily by a person, but poltergeist activity, things moving, sounds that you hear, things like that, I think definitely can be produced by a person that's experiencing, I would say like mental issues, but not really necessarily mental issues, but I don't know, some kind of psychological issue, whether it just be, because they say a lot of times the poltergeist activity will happen with adolescents, people going into puberty, because the hormones are elevated, your mental, like brain waves and all that are spiked because your body's just going through a lot of chemical changes, and that can cause or attract activity like that. I do believe that is very possible, because like I've said before, in my instances where I was experiencing some poltergeist activity where things sounded like they were being moved across the floor above me, it all happened at the time of my puberty and a couple years after. That was like when the main poltergeist activity was occurring. So it does coincide with a lot of other people's speculations that they're somewhat related. Now, whether the person's actually creating them or whether the energy is actually attracted to them because of those changes is, to be, you have to figure that out by yourself. I haven't been reading the chat because I get distracted very easily, and Momo's distracting me enough as it is. But I'll start reading stuff now. I have to go all the way back up, so forgive me if there's pauses. I swear to God, I'm about to choke this cat. Not literally, but she's driving me nuts. Jeremy says that he feels that certain people have the ability to see demons or ghosts. I do agree. It seems that only some people are aware of these beings or see them. In my family, I've said it before, I'm really the only person that I know that has experienced really anything paranormal. My dad claims that he's seen, the classic shadow people in the peripheral of his vision, but never anything dead on and never really anything else. My brother, I've talked about the couple of things that he's possibly seen, and that's it. There's nobody else. And while all these things were happening, it was pretty much always my dad, my mom at one point, then my stepmom, my brother, and myself. So it's always the same group of people. And then I guess when I was living with my mom, some stuff did happen there, but my brother was with me during that time as well. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the combination of us, or I don't know, just the common factor in all of it seems to be me. So I don't know what the deal is. Sean brought up, he said that he likes the idea of a succubus. You would think, but if you really delve into the actual phenomena, you probably wouldn't be as happy about it, because it actually supposedly drains the life force out of you to the point where, I don't know if it's ever killed anybody, but I guess that's the ultimate goal. I don't really know. Could you not? Oh my God. I don't know what her deal is. All right. Oh my god. I swear this is like a fucking mess. You're stupid. I haven't seen the movie The Right. I believe I've seen it in Netflix, but I never actually watched it. Oh my god, Daniel, what is wrong with you? And no, I did not say that, Sean. Starved to death a mentally ill person. It wasn't. They weren't starving her. She refused to eat. So it wasn't something they did intentionally. She refused to eat. If you watch the movie, it actually does show that. It shows her at one point eating insects like spiders, things around the house, mice. I don't know if that actually happened. That's what was portrayed in the movie. But as far as regular food, she refused to eat any kind of food. And for whatever reason, they refused to take her back to a medical facility, which in the movie, they were trying to get her back in the medical facility. They said the issues that she was having were all medical and could be treated medically. And they actually wanted to institutionalize her. And I think at one point she was, which would force feed her IVs and stuff. But I guess there was problems there. She was having episodes there. And that's when they decided to go the whole exorcism route. But yeah. Mumble is an annoying co-host. You have no idea. Alright, so I'm just going to go back to the thing. He's stupid. I've never choked my cat. I hate to, neither one. I hate to disappoint. Yeah, I guess I'll have to see that movie then. I don't know. I mean, I get that, Cobra, but you would think some of them would. Just because it'd be easier. But it doesn't seem like any... I don't know. Maybe it's just less suspicious because nobody tells much of a difference between when they were possessed and when they weren't. I don't know. Hello, Jared. She's still not being good. Like, she doesn't want to be here right now. Like, she's kind of ambivalent. Like, if I were to, like, lift my arm up, she would definitely leave. But she's not fighting right now to be here. So I don't know what her issue is. I really don't. Besides that she wants to go out in the hallway and probably pound on my brother's door, which I'm not allowing her to do. No, Momo wants to go outside and wreak havoc to people in the rest of the house. So anyway, getting back on topic. As I said before, I don't know where I stand in the whole thing. I don't know, because like I said, I'm not religious, so it kind of... Because, I mean, demons are kind of a very religious thing. Like, at least, like I said, in the way they're portrayed. I do believe that there's negative energy that possibly could have been labeled a demon. I think a lot of things in the Bible might necessarily, or may very well be, like actual things, but they're not portrayed as accurately as they could be, if that makes any sense. Like, and getting back to the whole alien demon relation, a lot of people think that, especially the Greys, are demonic, because a lot of the symptoms that people have as they're being abducted kind of correlate to possession, and a lot of people have claimed that Greys actually force them to astral project, which is detaching the soul from the body. Why they do that, or why they would want to do that, is kind of to anyone's guess. I don't know, but there's speculation that it's just done for experimental reasons. There's speculation that they're trying to kind of soul swap, or what do they call that? Body snatch or something like that, where the alien possesses the person. I don't really know. I don't know that I buy any of that, but what was that noise? That noise scared me. What the fuck was that? Make sure no one's messaging me. Oh, someone messaged me. That's what it was. Rex was just saying that he is not home, so if I'm still on by the time he gets home, then he'll jump on, but I probably won't be. I'm planning on keeping this on until maybe 11, and that's it, because obviously it's just me, and as I've said before, I'm not horribly knowledgeable on this topic, so I don't like to speak on things that I don't have extensive experience or knowledge about, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's been correlation or speculation that both Greys and reptilians are considered, or people think that they are demonic. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's entirely possible that those beings could have been confused for demons, or maybe termed as demons because they had no better designation for them at the time, because you got to understand that in the past, like when biblical times were going on, people didn't have a lot of knowledge. They were very primitive, and they spoke in terms that they understood, or that could be understood by other people. So, and I think me and Yeti were talking about this on the last episode, and how an alien can be easily confused with either an angel or a demon. And they had UFOs, glowing balls in the sky, and glowing beings from the sky. I mean, if you really translate it, I mean, it could very, very well be mistaken one for the other. Okay, I'm gonna have to close Google Plus because everyone's messaging me right now. Anyway, so yeah, I personally don't believe, and like I said, it's only my beliefs, that aliens are demonic. It's entirely possible that some can be negative, just as people. There are negative people, and there are good people, which all of it is based on your perception. So what's good to one person is not good to another person. Yeah, somebody said Greys and reptilians are imps that work for demons. I guess. Depends. Like I said, I don't believe it, but who's to say? I don't know. I don't understand what you mean, vaping with moms. When I say guys, it's just a general term. I know you're probably being funny, but when I say guys, I mean everybody. It's not meaning just men. Possible, Sean, and that's been speculation too. Some people associate the Nordics with the angelic, type of alien. Even by their description, they're, very light colored. They have blonde hair and blue eyes, and just look like the typically portrayed angel. Now, depending on how far you delve in, and I've gone to some really off-the-wall like forums and articles and stuff like that, some people consider the Nordics to be the evil ones, and the Greys are kind of neutral, and the reptilians might actually be the good ones. And the same with angels and demons. Depending on how you research and how you interpret things, angels could be the bad ones, and the demons were actually the ones that were trying to basically open up humans to knowledge. And I guess, I don't know, I don't want to get into all that because, like I said, I'm not versed in the Bible, and I don't want to quote anything inaccurately, but it's all a matter of perception. It's all a matter of interpreting the data the way that you interpret it. It's all open to interpretation, unfortunately. So that's where a lot of people have disagreements and all that stuff. He's stupid. Otis is saying that he had 3 out-of-body experiences, and that it's scary and exciting and hard to do. I, to my knowledge, have never had anything like that happen to me. I've had dreams where supposedly it was happening, but I don't know that I buy it. Everything looked different. It didn't look right. So I think they were just strange dreams. Because sometimes in my dreams I do try to kind of experiment, I guess, with like different things. Like I've tried to like I've had dreams where like I said, I've supposedly come out of my body and was like walking around in spirit form, but to me it was kind of obvious it was just a dream, and it was just really weird. So yeah, I don't have any experience with that. I did have a friend in high school who was Wiccan. I don't know whether or not that's important or not, but she was Wiccan, and she said that she would do that. She could actually do it on, I wouldn't say on command, but she could force herself to do it. And when she did it, there was like this silver string that kept her attached to her body. And if for whatever reason that silver string was broken, then, you know, the spirit is just like, it's kind of like a tether, I guess. Which I've heard other places, I can't remember where, but I don't know. I don't know whether I completely bought everything she told me, because she seemed to be kind of like a type that would like to exaggerate things. But I try to give everyone an open mind until I have reason to completely doubt them. But take with that what you will. As far as anybody else that I know that's had an out-of-body experience, I don't know any. I can't think of anyone else personally, but I did read in one place, and this is the type of things that make me feel like that kind of thing has some ground to stand on, is when like a person, for example, is in an operating room, they're having some kind of like life-saving operation being performed, and they can actually see themselves as it's being done. And while they're seeing themselves, they're either very close to death, as far as the machines say, or they're flatlined completely. And they actually tell people what's happening inside the room. They can hear what's happening inside the room. They can see actually outside the building, things that they wouldn't be able to know unless they were actually seeing it. So that kind of thing, I don't know, it kind of substantiates what they're saying and the fact that they really are away from the body. Now, I do believe that the body is more than just a physical, biological thing. I do believe that we have some kind of spirit, some kind of energy that is separate from the body. Call it a soul, whatever it is. I do believe that it does exist. Yeah, I don't know, Jeremy. I don't know that she took drugs. If she did, she never mentioned it to me, but I guess it's entirely possible. But they do say that drugs can actually open you up spiritually. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's really related, but you know, melatonin is something that's naturally produced in the body, and it has an effect on the body. However, if you're deficient in that enzyme or whatever you want to call it, chemical, you can take synthetic melatonin, and it can trigger the same natural response that, you know, your naturally made melatonin creates. So to me, if someone's on a certain drug, it depends on the drug and the circumstances, but it doesn't necessarily negate everything that they're saying. It makes me a little suspicious, but I don't know. I don't really have any experience with psychedelic drugs. I've never taken any, so I couldn't tell you. Oh, Mom was getting mad. I really don't care. Yeah, and like Ethan says, there have been experiments using atomic scales to measure the weight of soul, and supposedly the person, like, they weigh people like after their death, and at a certain point their body becomes lighter with like no other explanation as to why. But that's all speculatory. I've never really seen these supposed studies anywhere. But I believe it. Like I said, I do believe there's a soul. Where it goes when you die, I don't know. I don't believe in heaven and hell. But that's just me. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that I don't believe it exists. Yeah, I have heard a couple of stories about people using DMT and things like that, ayahuasca, and a lot of them do see aliens, or what they would consider aliens. And they do try to teach them things. They try to show them things. Some of the things that they try to show them, they don't understand, but it is a common episode when these people are having these drug trips, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, ayahuasca is something that I've been interested in. If I were to do it, it'd be later in life, because I've heard if you're going through a lot of shit or you don't have your shit sorted out, ayahuasca will actually force you to confront these things. So whatever you fear, especially what you fear the most, it seems to make you confront that. Me, I fear death the most. It's probably my number one fear, which is common. I think most people, that's their number one fear. And I don't want to confront death. I don't have any interest in that. So that's why I figure later in life, when maybe I'm a little bit more sorted out, more relaxed, calm, whatever, that it'd probably be a better idea. That way, if anything goes wrong, I'm already older, and it's not that as big of a deal. Hi, Dustin. Well, whatever melatonin is, it is what it is. I was trying to make a comparison. I don't know if it's accurate, a comparison, but that's what I had. But yeah, I've heard that the whole ayahuasca thing, ayahuasca, however you pronounce it, begins with an H. So I guess maybe it could be, I don't know. I forget how to pronounce it and spell it. It's kind of a strange spelling, but it can be very enlightening, and it's changed a lot of people's lives and opened them up to realities that they didn't even know were possible, and just opens up your perception and the way that you see things. But it also, I mean, anything, if it's done improperly, can be bad. Anything. So I just want to make sure that I'm in the right state of mind and that I'm with the right people before I would even consider doing anything like that. And obviously it's expensive, especially if you do it like the proper way. It's very expensive. So, yeah. My time theory, meaning that time is existing all at once, I don't know that it would tie into possession at all. Because like I said, I don't know that I particularly believe in it, and even the instances where it might be something strange going on, I can't explain what is happening because I don't understand what the purpose or what the end result that the, how do I put it? I don't understand what the end game is, like what they're seeking by possessing somebody, if not, for biblical reasons, like it is in the Bible. So I guess in that instance, I don't know. It's strange. I don't profess to be able to explain everything. In fact, I profess to be able to explain really nothing. I can just tell you what I believe at the current time and experiences that I've had and give you possible alternate views to think about. That's really all that this is. Trying to open your mind to other viewpoints, I guess. Sure. Like I said, I plan on staying on till 11, Sean, if you were paying attention. So 10 more minutes. Well, $150, but where did you have to go, Otis? Because the places that I've heard of that are like, the legit ones are all out of country. So, yeah, there's always the travel getting there. Personally, I've said this before, I think time is an illusion. Time is merely something created by man to be able to try to control something that's really uncontrollable. I mean, without time, it's kind of hard to schedule things. It just, I don't know, it makes certain things easier. It gives some kind of point of reference, but time as it exists to most people, I don't believe exists at all. And I definitely think it can be manipulated. Because personally, I think I've seen it myself and experienced it myself. But why it happens, how it happens, the purpose of it happening, I don't know. I don't know why any of this stuff happens. I've talked to somebody pretty much in length about why certain paranormal experiences happen to certain people. Like, what are they? Because a lot of it seems to have a will. Like, it's trying to show certain people something. Like, it seems to have intention. And it's just unclear as to what those intentions are, like what they're trying to accomplish by doing these things. I don't know. Yeah, Sheeny, that's kind of like where I was at. It wasn't so much that it blew up my mind. It was the fact that it started freaking me out. You all know I have sleeping issues. I've talked about them. It seems I talk about them in some way in every video that I have up. I'm either talking about how I'm tired or didn't sleep very well or whatever the case may be. So I already have sleeping issues, and back when I was really hardcore, like, constantly listening and watching, everything paranormal related, and this went on for at least weeks. It just got to the point where it was like consuming me, and that's a problem with me that I have. Like I said, I have like an obsessive personality, and if I show interest in something, I delve headfirst into it. It's not like a casual thing. And it happens with random things. It's not just paranormal related. It's really anything. Like, more recently, like Supernatural, the series, I became interested in maybe, I want to say 2 months ago, and I'm already through all 10 seasons, and there's like 23 to 24 episodes per season, so I like blew through them like nobody's business. And that's just like one example of, like, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know what it is. It's kind of annoying. It's not something that I like, but it's just, I don't know, I guess my personality. Cobra, the time thing, I've explained this before. Just briefly, while I remember it, I've mentioned before that I have a separate channel. And it's not like I'm trying to advertise for that channel because I really don't do much on that channel anymore. However, if you want to take some time out just to watch, there's one playlist in there. It's called like Paranormal Experiences or something like that. It's a playlist that has all of my paranormal experiences separated by the place that they happened. So it basically is like a diary, or however you want to put it, of all of my experiences. That way, if you're not familiar with some things I talk about, you can just refer to that video or watch that video once, and then you'll know what I'm talking about, because it's hard for me to remember where I've talked about what. Like, I know I've talked about pretty much everything that I can remember on that channel because I wanted to document it in some way, because, you know, as you get older, you tend to forget things and things can get a little warped. These events for me have pretty much stayed the same. Like, I don't remember them any differently than I did before. So, but, you know, as I get older, I just worry that might change. So I wanted somewhere where it's documented. So if you want to check that out, I will put the link of the playlist below, so you can just watch it if you want to. You don't even have to like watch it. You can just listen to it because it's nothing audio or visually important. So you can do it as, you know, you're building your coils or doing whatever, because that's what I would typically do when I would listen to paranormal things. I would just have it on in the background as I'm doing other things. So anyway, the thing that I suspected where time stopped was I was here, ironically, the house that I live in now. Well, I was living in the house I am now. I wasn't physically in there. I was walking around. It was like 9 o'clock at night or something like that. It was already dark because I like to walk around at night. And this is back when the neighborhood was fine. Like, you could walk around it in the middle of the night, no issues whatsoever. Now, I probably wouldn't do that. Just the neighborhood it's not that great anymore. But anyway, back then it was fine. I had my Discman, and I think most of you are old enough to know what a Discman is, but it's a portable CD player, kind of like an MP3 player, but you use a CD instead of that. The CD player that I had, and this is important to the story, I had no skip protection. So a lot of times when I'd walk, if I'd walk too like bouncy, it would cause the player to like fuck up. I don't remember what it did. I think it just stopped completely, and then I'd have to like push play again to get it to come back on or whatever. Because it had no skip protection, it had no memory, so it had no place to like back up to where it last skipped, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so I was walking, I was on the way back home, and I was like 2 streets over, and for whatever reason, I just looked up at the sky, and I just noticed how clear it was, because in Cleveland, it's usually pretty cloudy. There's always some kind of overcast. It's very rare that you can see all the stars, and all the stars are cool, really bright, and there's a lot of I think they call it light pollution, just because there's so many people and people always have their lights on. It causes the sky to look brighter than it is, something like that. So usually the stars aren't all that visible. Well, on this particular night, the sky was pretty dark, and the stars stood out really brightly, which I thought was nice, and I was just admiring it because I do like space. I find space fascinating, so I was just admiring the sky. As I was doing that, I noticed a very bright object, and it stood out to me for whatever reason. At first, I thought it was a star, and because that's what it looked like. It just looked like a very, very bright star. I'm like, wow, you know, that star is really bright. And I was just staring at it. And as I was thinking that, you know, it's a star, it started moving. So I'm like, okay, is it a plane? Why it would be a plane? Because it really didn't make sense. I was trying to, I guess, mentally figure out what it was. It started moving from side to side, kind of like, it was almost like it was proving to me that that I wasn't thinking properly. Like, it's not, like, it was trying to prove that it wasn't what I was thinking it was, if that makes any sense. So I'm like, okay, it's not a plane, because planes don't move from side to side. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's a helicopter, because I live pretty close to a hospital, and every now and then a helicopter does fly over. Then it started moving very quickly, like in diagonal motions. in a way that a helicopter just physically couldn't move as quickly and as smoothly as this thing was moving. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what the fuck this is. And the minute I thought, okay, I don't know what the fuck this is, or however I thought it, I don't know the exact wording, but I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. It literally just took off to the left. Mind you, when all this was happening, I didn't notice at the time because I was so mesmerized by this thing that it was completely silent. And that's something to note because I listen to my Discman very loud. I listen to my music just in general pretty loud because I figure for the most part I'm listening to rock or something like that where it's just, I don't know, it makes sense for it to be loud. I don't really like soft playing music for the most part. So I had my music on very loud. I didn't even notice that the music had disappeared when this all was happening until this thing took off and then my music went blasting into my ears. And that scared the shit out of me because, I mean, at first I'm just startled by this whole event, and then I had that happen to me. I'm like, okay, what the hell? So I was very puzzled, but I didn't really think too much of it because, as I've said before, I didn't really start getting super interested in aliens until later on. And this happened when I think I was like 14 to 16, somewhere in there. I was in high school. And I got really interested in aliens, ET, whatever you want to call them, probably early 20s. So it didn't really dawn on me that it was like a UFO until a little later, because I guess I was just so perplexed by it that I was just like, I don't know. Then, as I did more research and I found out all these things that happened, at first I thought it was, after doing research on UFOs, I thought perhaps the UFO, now mind you, I didn't see a craft. I saw a large, looked like a star, bright object. I didn't see a craft of any sort, like no physical structure. It was just a very, very bright light that seemed to have some kind of intelligence, and it moved very erratically. So get that perfectly clear. But as I started doing research about UFOs, which are just it's an unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a craft. Something that's common, or commonly reported anyway, is that it can affect electronics. And I thought possibly that's what happened because, it obviously was acting up because it stopped playing, and then when the thing took off, it started playing again. But then, and it was honestly after listening to Paratopia, which I've, again, talked about several different times before. They were talking about time distortions and just how time isn't really what you think it is. And it really got me thinking, and I do agree. I don't agree with everything that they say, but there are a lot of things that I do. And the more I thought about it, the more I think is that it was a time distortion, because nothing else really makes sense. Because if it was just them interfering with my electronics, like, number one, how would they do that? Why would they do that? Usually when it's affecting someone's electronics, it's just like shutting it off or making the volume increase or something like that. It's just like it seemed like time stopped, because like everything around me, it just, I don't know, it could just be my attention. My attention was so fixed on it that nothing else really, like, I wasn't focused on anything else. But it's just like, I don't know, it makes sense to me. Whether or not that's what happened or not, I don't know, but it explains a lot of stuff. And then, with the missing time is very rampant in a lot of abduction cases. So it just seems like time is a factor in a lot of the alien-related, UFO-related sightings, or whatever you want to call them. I hope I explained that well enough. Like I said, there is a video that I think I worded it better in the other video, but it's like the same story. I've watched listened to Coast to Coast many times. I don't like George Norrie, though. Honestly, I don't really care for him. And I don't like listening to it on the radio, because I've tried listening on the radio. There's just too many commercials. It's like literally like every 3 minutes, I swear there's a commercial, and I just can't deal with that shit. But I do like Coast to Coast in general. It's just, you just really have to watch, because they have a lot of, how do I word this? There's a lot of bullshit in there. There's a lot of bullshit. You really have to sift through the bullshit to get anything legitimate, in my opinion. Like I said, I'll put the link to the playlist I'm talking about in the description after this goes off air, which is going to be very shortly because it's after 11. See, I actually liked Art Bell better than George Norrie. That's just me. I don't know. I find Norrie he asks really stupid questions, in my opinion. Like, really silly questions. Like, it's just, I wish I could remember a specific thing, but it's just like, I couldn't figure out whether the guy was trolling the guest or if he was just being legitimate, but it was ridiculous. But yeah, if you guys are interested in like really off the wall stuff, Paratopia, it was recommended to me by a friend, and I had never heard of it before. And it's an eye-opening thing, and you really do have to sit through it. There is a lot of episodes, and not every episode is good, to be honest. There's a couple episodes I didn't care for, but out of 170 something episodes, it's bound to happen. But overall, really good material, and a lot of things that aren't like mainstream, like ideas that aren't like every other show that you watch, because it's a thing that happens when you research something, like really anything in any kind of depth, becomes redundant after a certain point, where it's like all the information is the same. So I can genuinely say that Paratopia is different, if anything else. But yeah, I guess I answered that question. I've listened to many Coast to Coast shows. Usually I listen to them online. That was before they were removed, because they have some kind of paid subscriber thing now where you can pay and listen to the show. So they had all of the episodes that they saw pulled from YouTube because, they don't make money on that. So a lot of the episodes that I had listened to previously are no longer available, at least not for free. But I like the older Coast to Coast. But I mean, overall, it's still a good show. I mean, it's probably the only, well, if it's not the only, it's definitely the first of its kind, to my knowledge, of like a paranormal themed show. I don't really like it when they get into like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, because that don't really interest me too much. But yeah, hello, Patrick. Yeah, I don't know, Jeremy. Like I said, this thing looked like a star. It just looked like a very bright star, but then it started moving, and it really confused the shit out of me. I can't wear watches because most of them are stainless steel backs, and I can't wear stainless. It breaks me out really bad. So no, I don't wear watches, and I don't really find them comfortable. I know it's past 11, but I was rambling so much that my cellular cotton is completely fine. Oh, you mean did I have a watch on when it was happening? No, like I said, I've never been able to wear watches, like standard watches. I mean, there are some watches you can find that don't have the stainless steel back, but they're really rare. And because I've had so many issues with them, I just stopped. I just never really got into wearing one. And back then, I don't even think I had a cell phone. Cell phones didn't become very popular until, like, some people I think had them in high school, but mainly when I had my first one, I think I was out of high school. I remember having a pager in high school, but not a cell phone. But I don't know. It was a long time ago, but no, I did not have a watch on. I don't know if I had any missing time. As I said before, I really didn't think what I saw was a UFO at the time. I don't know what I saw. I just knew it was weird until much later in life. So I don't think there was any missing time, but I mean, it's possible. If there was any missing time, it wasn't long. I've never claimed to be an abductee, and I try to make that clear, even though I've had experiences that could possibly tie into some kind of extraterrestrial encounter or whatever. I mean, it's, like I said, it's always possible that, you know, I could be, but I haven't really experienced anything that led me to believe that I'm an abductee. I've had a lot of strange things, and it's, like I said, it's definitely possible. I've had a couple of things that were questionable, but nothing like where I was like, okay, I'm an abductee. And honestly, if I am or have been, I don't want to remember. I don't want to know. Someone on a video on the other channel, it was like an abductee symptom list or something like that, which I do have a lot of the symptoms, but I don't know how much I buy into any of those lists. But I do have a lot of the symptoms, and someone made a comment about how, I think he said if you ask them to let you remember, they will, or something like that. And I'm like, I don't want to remember. Like, if it's number one, them doing something to where they, you know, they don't want me to remember or whatever, or my mind doing it intentionally to where I can't remember. Either one of those, or either way, I shouldn't remember. Like, it's obviously something that I probably shouldn't remember, and that would fuck me up if I remembered it. So why the fuck would I want to force myself to remember it? I'm good. I'm completely good not remembering it. For someone saying I don't remember, are you the same one that had Vapor's tongue last week, or was that somebody else? Somebody else was having Vapor's tongue, and I told them to vape unflavored juice. Like, if you DIY. If you don't DIY, I don't know what to tell you. Besides, drink a lot of water. But, yeah, I've never really had Vapor's tongue. I think I might have had, like, the onset of it, like, once, because nothing was tasting right to me. But I don't know, I essentially just vaped through it. I don't really remember doing anything specific to get rid of it. It just kind of went in. Yeah, I'm about to play some games. Bark. No, I won't be going to sleep anytime soon. I slept most of the day today. I don't know, on my days off anymore, it's like, it seems like all I want to do is sleep, which I know isn't good, but I don't know. My mentality about that is, if I'm able to sleep, I'm going to sleep, because there's a lot of times where I just can't sleep, or I can only sleep a couple hours at a time, and then I'm awake, that I just sleep when I can, even if it's way too much. Like today, I slept way too much and slept most of the day away, but I don't know. Bye, Doc. Why is it? Okay. Some conspiracy theories are okay. It depends on which ones. And it depends on my mood. Like, if I'm in the mood to watch something or listen to something paranormal related, I don't really want to listen to that. Like, I have to be in the mood for that. Thank you, Patrick. I try to make them seem interesting. Don't think I always necessarily succeed, especially when it's just me, but I try to do what I can. I actually thought about just doing another chat video today, but since I've already done one, and like I don't remember when the last paranormal video I did was. I think it was a while ago though. I didn't want to do that again. I didn't want to just whatever. Yes, Sheeny, I'll be on Twitch after this video. I have like a really bad headache. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah. I didn't want to be on here super late because, like I said, I don't have like a ton of experience or knowledge on this topic, and I don't want to speak on something too much. Like, I just want to speak of what I know, and unfortunately I just don't know a lot. I was hoping to have a couple people on that might have more to add to this, but it was like short notice, so it's fine. No. But yeah, I'm gonna be on Twitch after this in case anybody wants to watch. I'm playing The Evil Within. I think I'm on chapter 13 out of 15, so I'm close to the end. I don't know if I'll be able to get through everything by the end of the stream. That would be ideal, but a lot of times I die so much that it just pisses me off, and I'm just like, I'm done. I know there's going to be a boss at the end, so who knows how long that's going to take to beat. I don't know. But my Twitch name is the same as this channel. So it's www.twitch.tv or Twitch TV, I think .com/RinVapes. But it's the same channel as this. I'll put the link to that down too, along with the other channel. And like I said, you don't have to subscribe to the other channel because I don't plan on keeping that channel up, like updated or whatever, because I don't really ever post anything on it anymore. And it's mainly makeup related, which I'm sure most of you are not interested in, but just to watch the playlist to see what my encounters have been, it might be interesting. And it's kind of like in a better format, like it's more categorized and organized, whatever. Yeah, Patrick, that's what I started off with. I started off with an interest in ghosts back till grade school. It was at least like first grade. So I started reading at a very young age. I was actually reading books before I even got into kindergarten. My dad sat down with me and taught me, I don't know, I was like 4. I think I was 4. I know it was before I went into kindergarten. So like other kids were doing alphabet letters and shit, and I was already reading books. So, you know, my interests were a little bit more advanced for my age. So I don't know. I started becoming very interested in ghosts at a very, very young age. It was at least like I said, grade school. Like I said, I've said this before. I remember events in my childhood by the grade of school I was in, not my age. I don't know why. It's just more easy, I guess, to remember. And I remember book drives. I would get ghost books, and those happened at the one particular school. And I only went to that school from 1 to half of 3rd grade. I ended up having to move out of the school system right in the middle of the year, which was fun. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. I'm like rambling now. Like I said, I'm about to play some video games. So if any of you are interested, you can watch me over there and continue to chat with me over there. Over there, I don't really care what people talk about. They can talk about whatever. I've had people ask me vape questions over there. I don't really care. But yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. PaRiNormal episode 8, I think it is. I don't know when that's going to be. It's probably not going to be next week. It'll probably be, I'm going to try to do this every other week. We'll see how that works. But either here or there, I should still have a live show on next Tuesday. It just might be random chatting. I don't know. But anyway, bye-bye.